You are listening to Hilary Topper On Air, the small business podcast to help you grow both personally and professionally. And now, here's your host, Hilary Topper.
Are you a good communicator? Do you struggle getting your thoughts and ideas out in a way that others can understand? I'm Hilary Topper, and this is Hilary Topper On Air. Today, I'm really excited to be speaking with Eileen Lichtenstein, who is the CEO of Balance and Power, Inc., and author of SOAR with Resilience, the interactive book for overcoming obstacles and achieving success. And I just have to say, full disclosure, that I have known Eileen now for many, many years. I think when I first started my business way back when, and she's just amazing, and we've been good friends since. So it just is an honor to have her on the show. So welcome, Eileen, to the show.
Thanks so much, Hilary. And I feel the same way. I feel honored to be on your show.
Thank you.
And yeah, I've seen your business, you, of course, heading it up, and your business grow and grow. And wow, it's really amazing history we have.
Well, thank you. So let's get to you and tell us and remind our listeners about your background and about what Balance and Power is all about.
Sure. My background, and before I even start with that, I must say, I feel like I've come, or I have been coming full circle these days, integrating many aspects of my current career of balance and power with each other. So my original professional background was in education, and then when I had my kids, I opened Eileen's Dance and Exercise Studio and my moving meditation fitness audio program that Hilary so professionally helped me promote. And then I closed the Dance and Exercise Studio and studied biofeedback, and that was due to I was in an accident that I became fully recovered from, but at the time I couldn't continue the dancing that way. And then I became an adjunct at Hofstra University in the health and phys ed department. I taught hatha yoga every single day there for 5 years, including to the then popular, they don't exist anymore, Hofstra football team. So that was my biggest challenge. That was my biggest, am I really doing this thing during that career? And in a way, that prepared me for working with some of my clients now. Fast forward, I'm a life and career coach and certified anger management specialist. And that is a certification from the courts. I can work with court-mandated cases for anger management and parenting across the US. And it's really been an amazing journey. And every time I work with a new client, whether court-mandated or, as I say, regular folks, it's an amazing, amazing journey for me to help them to make good choices for themselves and to stay focused. And one of the modalities I work with is EFT tapping, emotional freedom techniques. I became certified in that about 10 years ago, and it's so well received now in the energy psychology field that even the Anger Management Association that certified me has given me the big yes to do that with the cases, because it works to release stress and frustration and possibly trauma. And with all the times we're going through now, every day I'm thankful that I know how to do that for myself too.
It's true. So today we're talking about communications. This is something I think we all struggle with. Can you tell us what the best style of communication is to use for anyone, anywhere, and why?
Good question. Speaking, acting, communicating assertively is my quick response here. Assertive versus aggressive, passive, or passive aggressive. When we say something in an assertive way, we say it like we mean it, but not in a mean way. We say it kindly in a I need or I ask that kind of way. So not ever ordering someone around, just a really simple household example. Instead of saying possibly, I'm so sick of taking out the garbage all the time, take it out more often. No, that is not assertive. That's semi-aggressive, passive-aggressive almost. And we can say, I need some help with the garbage collection in this house. You know, I'll share with you, I never used that phrase before, garbage collection in the house. And I think that's great. I just made that up. I use this example quite often about the garbage. And so just like that, if you have a child at home and you can't deal with the mess in the room or something, instead of saying however you might say it, simply say that I need you to pick up your stuff. You know how I like it, at least once a week, if not more. Thanks so much. And walk away.
So you alluded to the fact that there are different types of communication, and the one that we just were discussing was the assertive communication. So what other styles and how do they differ from each other?
Well, there's aggressive, and that is someone literally in your space, whether it be your physical space and you may be getting hit or pushed or something thrown at you. It also can be in your emotional space. And it's not necessarily how the other person intends for you to understand it, unless there's something being thrown at you or you're being pushed, then it's quite clear. But when it's in your emotional space, sometimes it's just our personal perception. Maybe the other person is pushing buttons, so to speak. So it's important that we understand our cues, our personal cues when someone is in our emotional space. What happens? Do we get tight? Does your chest get tight? Do you get warm in temperature? Do you have a knot in your stomach and your shoulders and your neck and so on? And when often this physical cue is perceived a second or so before you get your thinking with words response in yourself. So it's really important. I'm suggesting that we each become extremely aware of what our own cues are, especially when you're living in tight quarters. So, or with a lot of people, or in an office space that way, in a store that way, waiting that way online, perhaps, and you've had it. So it's really important to be aware of your cues for that. And then the other extreme is passive communication. It's really just like being a punching bag and bullies look for this.
Mm-hmm. So, reading your blog and reading some of your other material, you reference the second agreement of the 4 agreements. What do you mean by that, and how does that relate to communications today?
Sure. The second agreement in this book, the 4 agreements, is don't take anything personally. And I referenced it before when I was talking about if someone is in your emotional space, maybe it's your perception, it's not their intention. And it's good, it's a good thing simply for us to be aware of this, that perhaps it's not how they meant to sound. Maybe they just had a bad morning. Maybe they had an awful thing happen at work before they came home and said this kind of thing. So that's what it means. Even if you know the words that came out were mean, possibly untrue in your perception, and it's about yourself, so you know if it's true or it's not true, and just keeping all the clues in mind all the time. And perhaps if you see the other person is really not saying the truth to you, I would suggest walking away. This is the #1 strategy in the anger management certification teachings, is if you feel like you want to say something angrily back to someone, or you want to punch them back or kick them or whatever it may be, leave. Simply leave. Because, well, I don't have to paint a picture. I think you all can see. And in words, it could be called adding fuel to a fire.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, before we move on, I just have to say that I am so appreciative of my sponsors and must take this moment out to thank them. Please support our sponsors and tell them that you've heard about them on Hilary Topper On Air. Special thanks to the Russo Law Group, the Profit Express, Pop International Galleries, the Donna Drake Show, and Fortuna Fine Jewelry. Now back to you, Eileen. So we're talking about effective communication. Can you tell me some tips for communicating better?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, I'd be happy to. In addition to being assertive as much as possible, it's really important to be an active listener and to understand what that means, because then you'll be able to do it better more often. And it's really important to have a good rapport with someone, for them to know you're really listening. And being an active listener means to hear and to say it back in some way, not like a first grader, not like an elementary school teacher, but simply saying, yeah, I think he said. If you're not sure, it's easy to say, did you say this? I think he might have said this. It's okay, you're having a conversation. This is not an exam for college entrance or for a job interview. So I think people get really unnecessarily tense when they do this. They're not sure if they're doing it right. Well, let me tell you, there's no real right way. All you have to think of is having wonderful rapport with the person, being honest, listening well, and speaking from your heart as well as your mind.
That's great. That's really great. I love that. It actually reminds me of a sales technique that people use called mirroring. Can't say that 3 times fast. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about anger, right? So when somebody, and this happens all the time, I see this on social media constantly. So what's a good rule to follow if you feel offended or angry when someone says something or writes something that you don't agree with?
Well, I think I mentioned this in this conversation, and it still holds true. I could say it again because it's that important, is leave, simply leave. And if you don't feel 100% right with that, if you think, oh, now the person thinks I'm like deserting the conversation or something to that effect, if you can manage it to say, I have to leave and calm myself down, and we'll continue to speak about this later.
Mhm.
And leave. No more. Don't go on and on and on. Sometimes the other person is like so shut down already. Whatever you may say is not going to be good. But just saying that little bit, even if it's not to calm down, I just need to leave for a few minutes now. Or if it's not a few minutes, we'll continue this later. And go to the restroom, go outside for a slow walk. We don't want anyone collapsing in anger.
So
running.
it would be the same thing if you see something on social media. I mean, you start boiling, you know, there's so much going on and so much negativity, right? And you're boiling and you want to jump in the conversation. So what you're saying is just remove yourself from the situation. Shut down
Absolutely.
Facebook and walk away.
Absolutely. That would be the best thing to do, in my opinion.
Awesome. So this was so great. This was really great. And I hope that everybody can learn something here because I know I did. So tell people how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you and Balance and Power.
My website is balanceandpower.com. That's BALANCEANDPOWER.com. My email, my best email is Eileen, EILEEN, at balanceandpower.com. And my phone number, my landline, so don't try texting me at this one, is 516-623-4353. I offer complimentary consults on the phone. So that would be great. And tell me you heard me here on Hilary's radio show. That would be wonderful.
And any last thoughts or that you want our audience to walk away with?
Every morning, if possible, before you pop out of bed or someone calls you to be there, a little one, I mean, it would be wonderful to visualize each thing that you think is going to happen in your day. And if you're your own boss, say yes and visualize it fully, or say, I don't think that's for me today. And maybe another time, maybe not. You could think about that later. I find that extremely helpful before getting out of bed. And if you can manage some time a little later for a very brief meditation, meaning no thinking, focus on your breath, just sitting there, standing there, or lying down outside if possible, that is wonderful. And exercise.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny that when you mentioned moving meditation, I every time I take a walk, I think of you. I do. It's so powerful. So I'm talking today with Eileen Lichtenstein of Balance and Power, and she just provided you with her contact information, but it also will appear on the our website, so you can check it out there. I want to thank you so much. This was wonderful, and I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks so much, Hilary. Thanks again.
I also want to thank our sponsors again, the Russo Law Group, the Profit Express, Pop International Galleries, the Donna Drake Show, and Fortune Fine Jewelry. And last but not least, I want to thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. If you want more information on this show or any other show, please visit our website at hilarytopperonair.com, or you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, even Amazon Alexa. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.